So in this series, we've already covered off small cars, medium to large cars, small to medium-ish SUVs, and all the links to those videos, they're down there somewhere. But this week we're talking large SUVs and four-wheel drives, and just like the previous episodes in this series, because the budget is $10,000, look, we are taking into account things like driving enjoyment and, the overall image of the vehicle, but the real priorities are safety, reliability, and the cost of maintenance and upkeep. Plus, as always, we've tried to keep these vehicles as readily and as internationally available as possible. And again, we're going to be ranking them from smallest to largest. So kicking things off, it's the Mitsubishi Outlander. The Outlander that we're talking about is the second generation 2007 to 2009 ZG, or the 2009 to 2012 ZH. And yes, there are third generation Outlanders available for this budget, but they are few and far between. Now, the Outlander very nearly made it to last week's smallish to medium-ish SUVs episode, but as it's available as a 7-seater, this category seemed a bit more appropriate. Although finding a 7-seat Outlander at this budget might take some serious hunting. The Outlander might not be the most exciting or instantly appealing used SUV on the market, possibly why it's often overlooked, but with great levels of practicality, a well-finished interior, decent levels of equipment and safety, especially on higher spec variants, and the choice of 4 or 6-cylinder engines, most of which will be all-wheel drive, although there are some front-wheel drive 4-cylinder examples out there, it's an SUV more than worthy of your consideration at this budget. However, it's not without its gremlins. Even before taking into account the reliability on used examples, the 2.4-litre 4-cylinder engine lacks for power, the 6-cylinder does love a drink, the ride quality and steering feels a bit rubbish, the cabin can be noisy even without kids in it, and yes, there are 7-seaters out there, but that third row is pretty bloody cramped. Also, many 4-cylinder Outlanders feature a CVT in terms of its transmission, and it is absolutely critical to have these inspected by a qualified mechanic before buying to assess the health of the CVT. These transmissions across most manufacturers don't have a fabulous reputation when it comes to reliability, and there's a reason for that. If they're poorly maintained, they can go bang. Now, that might sound like a lot of doom and gloom, but there are excellent Outlanders available for this budget. Just be a smart shopper. Now, if anyone out there has an Outlander and it's more than 3 years old and you live in Sydney or Newcastle or somewhere nearby and you'd be happy to see it featured on ReDriven, can you let us know in the comments or message us on Instagram? Because yeah, we would love to feature one. Okay, next up, it is the Subaru Outback. So for this price point, you're going to be looking predominantly at the 2003 to 2009 third generation or the 2009 to 2014 fourth generation Outback. But we'd actually be steering you towards the older third generation cars. The fourth gen, it can be a good thing, but as all but the 6-cylinder variants feature a CVT, which has earned itself a pretty horrible reputation for reliability, the third gen Outback is arguably a safer bet. But what about all of those head gasket issues that we keep hearing about? Well, they are a concern to a point. The majority of head gasket issues seem to impact the pre-2004 2.5-litre Outbacks, while excessive oil consumption issues are reported on the 2013 and 2014 fourth generation models. Plus, with the majority of Outbacks at this price point showing over 200,000 kilometres, hopefully any head gasket issues have been seen to. And the good news is, generally speaking, once those head gasket issues are sorted, they rarely happen again. Still, to hopefully mitigate any issues, just try to stick to the updated third generation Outbacks from 2006 to 2009. These offer really good levels of equipment, thanks in part to Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive layout. They have excellent safety, they still look the business, and well cared for interiors are a lovely place to be. The 6-cylinder examples are hugely underrated, but they do love a drink, with Subaru claiming a consumption figure of 11.1 litres per 100 kilometres. However, most owners have never seen that. The 4-cylinder examples apparently return a slightly more efficient 9.5 litres per 100 Ks, plus with some hunting, there are even manual examples out there. And even though this generation is around about 15 years old, many feel this era is peak Subaru. And these days, for less than $10,000, they do offer so much car for the money. Plus, with a few tasty mods, they're pretty impressive off-road too. Now, remember what I said about the Outlander? Well, the same goes for the Outback. If you've got one, we'd love to feature one, so let us know. Okay, next up, we're going just a little bit fancier. It's the Lexus RX330 and 350. While you won't have a choice of multiple generations with the Lexus, because all at this price point will be part of the 2003 to 2008 XU30 range, you will have a choice between the older 03 to 05 RX330, featuring a 3.3-litre V6, or the more recent 06 to 08 RX350, featuring, yep, you guessed it, a 3.5-litre V6. But which do you buy? Well, really, Either of them, but we'd be going for the 350. Not only does it have more power and torque, it's more fuel efficient too. Plus, being the updated model, you're going to get a few more toys to play with over the 330. As far as reliability goes, look guys, we're talking Lexus here, so both offer arguably class-leading levels of build quality and therefore longevity. Although the 3.3 litre does need a solid service history, as a missed timing belt change or neglected treatment can lead to some pretty major issues. But even though most RX330 and RX350s will be showing well over 200,000 kilometres on the clock at this price point, these mechanical packages are in a host of other Toyota models, and with the right TLC, are showing in excess of 400,000 kilometres and still running near perfectly. Plus, for under $10,000, you're getting an SUV with some genuine premium attributes. Actually, on the subject of Toyotas, next up, it was a bit of a challenge to pick between a couple of Toyota models, but we've gone with the Highlander / Kluger. Here's why. The other Toyota that we were seriously considering for this category was the Land Cruiser Prado, and if you're planning on any serious off-road adventuring, put one of these at the very pointy end of your list. But the problem is, 120 series Prados for under $10,000 will be showing well over 400,000 kilometres, and even 90 series examples, which there are loads more of on the used car market, will still have travelled over 300,000 kilometres. Look, that's not necessarily a problem, especially if you know your way around a toolkit, but for the majority of buyers out there, this many kilometres is just a bit too much of a risk. So instead, we're recommending that you visit Highlander or Klugerland. Here in Australia and in Japan, we call it a Kluger. Everywhere else around the world, it's a Highlander. For this budget, look, yes, you can get yourself into a 2003 to 2007 first generation XU20, but you're possibly better off with a 2007 to 2013 second gen XU40. Look, there's nothing inherently wrong with the first generation models, but they are starting to feel their age these days. Mechanically, they share the same engine as the Lexus RX330, so just like that SUV, if you do want one, make sure those services and timing belt changes are up to date. And like the RX350, the second generation features the improved, more powerful and more efficient 3.5 litre V6, but in this platform, both front and all-wheel drive options are available. The front-wheel drive is fine for the majority of owners, but if you feel like some adventuring, or if you have a bit of a heavy right foot, the all-wheel drive is the one to get. Look, don't get us wrong, it's no hardcore off-roader, but having power sent to all four wheels in such a big rig does provide far more confidence. The majority of second generation Klugers and Highlanders will seat 7, but no matter what the seat configuration, all provide excellent levels of practicality, good safety and tech, although the infotainment systems suck. And if you want more detailed info, go and check out our full review video and the cheat sheet. The links are down there in the description. Now guys, if you're enjoying this video and ReDriven in general, if you haven't already, how about hitting that subscribe button? Subscribing, liking, sharing our content, it helps us out so much. It just allows us to make more of these videos for you. Okay, finally, it is the Mitsubishi Pajero, or Montero, or Shogun. There are a handful of 4th generation Pajeros available for this price point, but they'll all be showing huge kilometres. So instead, we'd be sticking with the 3rd generation 2000 to 2006 NM and NP models. The vast majority will still be showing over 200,000 Ks, but as proven for more than 20 years, with the right servicing and maintenance, Pajeros pushing 500,000 kilometres while still running strong are far from rare. They're not 100% bulletproof in terms of reliability, but they go bloody close. There's lots to love here. The Pajero was crammed full of driver aids and equipment. The platform itself arguably mixes the best of both worlds in terms of off-roading prowess and on-road compliance. Mitsubishi's proven Super Select system allows rear to all-wheel drive selection on the move, and unlike so much of the competition, on sealed surfaces as well. Plus, a set of proper low-ratio gears will look after almost any serious off-road shenanigans that the majority of owners will ever attempt. Plus, they're immensely practical, they're enjoyable to drive, and with the right mods, will tow for days and tackle pretty much whatever you throw at them. Now, there is a range of different petrol and diesel engines to choose from depending on the year, the model and your location, but our pick for the majority of buyers is the petrol-powered 3.8 litre automatic. Although they do come with a negative, they love a drink. When brand new, Mitsubishi claimed a consumption figure of 13.7 litres per 100 kilometres. But these days, and even excluding the fact that many Pajeros will be covered in many kilograms of accessories, north of 15 litres per 100 Ks is a far more reasonable expectation. Now guys, remember what I said about us reviewing the Outlander and the Outback? Well, the same goes for the NM and NP Pajero. We would love to review one, especially if it's an evolution model. Let us know in the comments. And the overall image of the... You're going to get a few more toys to play with over the 330. What am I doing? We're talking Lexus here, so both offer arguably, we call it a Kluger. Everywhere else, it's the Highlander. Everywhere. On-road compliance. Mitsubishi. There is so much to love here. The Pajero was crammed full of driver aids and equipment. The platform... Now guys, I have a question for you. Next week, it's the final installment in this series and we need your help. We're talking special cars under $10,000. You know, performance, luxury, something unique, stuff like that. What cars should make the list? Let us know in the comments. See you soon.